The Premier did not just shuffle his cabinet, he shook it up. We begin with the major moves Doug Ford made to his starting lineup. Good evening. From promotions to demotions and even added positions, the Premier is setting a new course.
Some high-profile politicians are no longer in charge of high-profile portfolios. Our Queen's Park Bureau Chief Colin DeMello joins us now with the details and to put this all into context. Colin.
Well, consider this, Michelle. It was not even a year ago that this cabinet was first sworn in, and already Premier Doug Ford has reshuffled his cabinet twice. This, though, is a complete overhaul. The finance minister, education minister, social services minister are all being changed as the government looks to start year two off with better communications. As far as cabinet shuffles go, this wasn't a refresh, it was a complete reset. Premier Doug Ford unveiled a major restructuring of his front bench today that included promotions and major demotions. And it came with an admission from the Premier himself that his government believes it needs to do better.
I look at continuous improvement. It starts with me. Every one of our cabinet ministers, I feel, have done a good job, but we can always do a better job. I can always do a better job as well.
I, Victor Fedeli, swear that I will.
The biggest and perhaps most shocking cabinet change was Vic Fedeli. In an unprecedented move, Fedeli was removed from his post as finance minister 2 months after delivering his first budget. The rollout of his fiscal document was seen internally as a disaster, leading to a sharp drop in popularity for this populist premier.
The Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford!
Today, however, despite replacing Fedeli with Rod Phillips as finance minister, Ford had nothing but kind words.
He did an incredible job as finance minister, and when we sat back, and our number one key goal is obviously always health and education, but is creating jobs. Again, there's no better salesperson in our team than Vic Fedeli.
I, Lisa M. Thompson, swear.
Also switching posts is Education Minister Lisa Thompson. Her handling of the file led to controversies that plagued the government from day one. Stephen Lecce takes over as the new Education Minister. His priority, he says, is calling all of the school boards and then dealing with contract negotiations with teachers.
I, Lisa MacLeod, swear that I will.
Lisa MacLeod is no longer the Minister of Social Services, meaning she will no longer be in charge of the autism portfolio, the one file that has caused the government the most consternation.
Autism isn't the largest file, but it's the most sensitive, and I'm very passionate about it. And we're going to make sure that we continue on with a great plan that Lisa put in place. And
parents of children with autism felt MacLeod was combative. Advocates say they are pleased to have Todd Smith taking over as the minister responsible.
I think regardless of what Premier Ford feels that he has to say about his friend Lisa MacLeod, it's clear that he understands that there was a need to press reset on this file. And everyone that I'm talking to has nice things to say about Mr. Smith.
The emphasis now is on better communications. Those who are skilled at delivering the government's message while striking the right tone have been promoted. But members of the opposition say it's the Premier who should be taking more of the blame, that ministers are simply communicating his policies.
Make no mistake, I mean, these cabinet ministers are simply implementing the wishes of Doug Ford.
And what Premier Ford doesn't understand is that it's his priorities that are the problem, not who sits where around the cabinet table.
The Premier will only say his priorities remain the same, but the communication strategy needs to change.
could we have done a couple things better? Absolutely.
In total today, 12 ministers switched portfolios. MacLeod is now the Minister of Tourism. Thompson, the Minister of Consumer Services. Caroline Mulrooney is the Minister of Transportation, while Doug Downey is the new Attorney General. Jeff Urick is the new Minister of Environment. And Marilee Fullerton takes over the responsibility for long-term care. And while this government has been focused on finances, it seems they were willing to loosen the provincial purse strings in order to expand this cabinet. There are 28 members around that cabinet table now, including Premier Doug Ford, which means they're going to have to spend an additional $1 million on salaries, going up from $3.5 million to $4.5 million a year. Reporting live at Queen's Park, I'm Colin DeMello. Now back to you.